Pidana Balagova Giri Badadaude Yasodanandana Brada Jana Randana Yasodanandana Brada Jana Randana Jabunate Rabanachari Yamunate Rabanachari Jai Radhu Madhava Punya Vihare Jai Radha Madhava Punya Vihare Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasuranandana Prajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamunatera Anachari Yamunate Ravanachari Jai Hurad Umadhava Kunda Vihari Jai Radhu Madhava Kunda Vihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravitakacharya also tells us that Shimad, His Divine Grace, Abhaya Charanara Bhaktavedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Adantagoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Friends, say Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shiva Siddhi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopakopanath Swayam Kunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Mathuradam Ki Jai Jagadada Sami Ki Jai Nivanamai Ki Jai Shrimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glory is the assembled devotees All glories, the assembled devotees, all glories, the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Budale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharani Nivashesha Shanyavadi Paschatya Jaya Jatarade. Excuse me. Om Gana Timidanda Shah Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Meditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So we want to wish everyone a happy Gaur Purnima, the appearance day of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this morning's class, it's going to go a little longer because it's a festival day. This morning's class will consist of three different aspects. One aspect is I'm going to tell a story about Lord Chaitanya's compassion, or actually the compassion of Lord Chaitanya and his devotees. And the second part is I am going to read from the Chaitanya Charitamrita about the esoteric reasons for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's advent. And the third part is I have a compilation of different quotes from different Vedic literatures verifying that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because as we know, if we want to accept, or if we are to accept, someone as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there's several different requisites. One requisite is that Krishna, must be predicted in the Vedic literatures. There must be some prediction, like his family, like we find Lord Buddha's predicted in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we have to verify that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not only by the symptoms, not only by the great saints, but also by the Vedic literatures themselves. Prabhupada would often say that if someone declares themselves to be an incarnation of God, there must be some statement previous to his appearance that verifies that he's the Supreme Personality of God. It's not that anyone can declare themselves to be God. So anyway, I'm going to start off with a story, and this story is the story we told last night during our class. It's the story of Shivananda Sain and the dog. Because this story illustrates, I think, almost to the greatest extent, even greater in my mind than the story of Jagai and Madai, because they were two human beings, how Lord Chaitanya was merciful, how his devotees are merciful, and also how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is so loving and his devotees are so loving. And if you give, or if you get the affection from one of Lord Chaitanya's devotees, then you're sure to go back to home, back to Godhead. So I actually, Namo Mahabhadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate, Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Kodik Say Namaha, like we offer obeisances to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the most munificent Supreme Personality of Godhead. Why is he munificent? Because he is giving love of God, Krishna Prema Pradayate. He's giving Krishna Prema, not simply liberating. We find other incarnations of God. I mean, for example, Lord Nrsimhadev, when he kills you, he's liberating you, right? As far as I know. Or Krishna, even Krishna outside of Vrindavan, like, when he killed Shishupal, for example, he liberated Shishupal. But there's no indication that he gave him Gopi Baba or love of Krishna or pure love of the Supreme Personality of God. There's no indication that happened at that particular juncture. Of course, we understand Antavaka and Shishupal, they're Jai and Vijay, that's a different thing. But the highest Raja Prema, they didn't get. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving Raja Prema at the level of the residents of Vrindavan to everyone. So anyway, so here's the story, and I just found it so inspiring because it involves an animal. And of course, in Kali Yuga, we're all like animals. Swavidvara hostrakarai samstuta purusha pashu niyat karna pato pita jatu namakaragasha. It says people who are like hogs, dogs, camels, and asses, they glorify those who are not Krishna conscious. I'm just paraphrasing that particular verse. So anyway, so here's the story. Once upon a time, after Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had come back from Vrindavan and he'd gone to Jagannath Puri, the devotees heard about this and they wanted to see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And one of the devotees actually took care of the other devotees. His name was Shivananda Sain. Shivananda Sain, I guess, was a businessman. He had money, so he paid for the other devotees' passage, made sure that they had places to sleep. I mean, there's another story where he didn't, aggravated Lord Nityananda because he didn't do it one particular time, and Lord Nityananda kicked him, but that was actually kind of nice, being kicked by Lord Nityananda. So what happened is that all the devotees, they headed for Jagannath Puri. And Shivananda Sain was taking care of them. Actually, this Vaishnava Seva is extremely important in Krishna consciousness, serving the Vaishnavas. One can actually go back to Godhead just by serving the Vaishnava. Anyway. Mahat Seva Mahur Vimuktes Tamodvaram Yoshitam Sangi Sangam. So if you serve a Vaishnava, then you get the door, Hurvi Muktes, the door to the Krishna consciousness becomes open, and if you serve someone who is a rascal, then the door to somewhere else gets opened. So he was serving all the devotees and making sure they had what they needed and paying the taxes. There were actually tax collectors, and there's boats that they had to cross different rivers. So what happened one time is that a dog, a stray dog, started to follow them. And he took responsibility for this dog. And it's a very important point that once one has a responsibility for another living entity, it is most sinful to give up that responsibility or reject that particular living entity. Unless that entity rejects you, that's another point. So in this particular case, he was taking care of the dog, and he was so determined to take care of the dog that even when one boatman refused to take the dog across the river because, boatmen didn't want a moochy dog in his boat, then Shivananda Sain had to pay like a large amount of, I guess, conchils, kanas, or whatever they call it, a large amount of what was considered money in those particular days. Prabhupada in his purport talks about inflation. Prabhupada said for a few paisa, for one paisa, he said you could feed a whole family for a whole day when Prabhupada was young. That's amazing, isn't it? Nowadays, one paisa is 1/100th of a rupee. Now you can't even buy a peanut for a rupee. Maybe you can. But anyway, I mean, it's just like inconsequential. Even when I first went to India, I remember taking the boat across the Jalangi River. It was like 50 pice. Do you remember this, Radharaman? It was like 50 pice to go across the Jalangi. They don't even use pice in here. I mean, it's just like pice coins to go across, and now it's, of course, many rupees, probably 5 rupees or something like that, whatever, 10 rupees, whatever it is now, inflation. So Shivananda Sain was willing to pay a large amount of money to convince the boatman to take the dog across the river. I mean, that's amazing, isn't it? So many of us, we see the animals, we think, oh, it's a big inconvenience or something like that. Like you see little tilak here, I was thinking about relating. This is inconvenient, why is this cat here? But the cat has taken shelter. There's dogs of the Dham, and cats of the Dham, and monkeys of the Dham. And so these animals have taken shelter in the holy Dham. So somehow or other, of course, we have to maintain our standard of cleanliness too. I'm not saying that. Somehow or other, they can't be rejected. So he didn't reject this. He paid for this Moochie dog. Just like last night I was talking about how I'm walking in this Okinichi Park all the time, and people walking, there's one man who walks with 5 dogs through the park. And it's the Moochie. Dogs are Moochie, And actually, one other point, Prabhupada said dogs are sometimes the biggest offenders. Does anyone know why? Because they pass urine on Tulsi daily. So anyway, so this Moochie dog, he puts in and it wasn't a dog that was shampooed like modern dogs are now, Even you go to India and you go to Juhu Beach and you see all the rich Indians walking with their dogs now in Juhu Beach. So he paid for the dog. All right, so the dog crosses. And then one day, Shivananda Sain had to just arrange to pay some tolls, so he let the other devotees go ahead of him. And when he reached the other devotees, he asked his servant, "Have you fed the dog?" And the servant said, "No, I forgot." And Shivananda said, "Where's the dog?" And they all looked around. They couldn't find the dog. And so what did Shivananda Sain do at that particular point? He fasted. Because the dog wasn't going to eat. He felt so responsible. Can you imagine that? So responsible for a dog, a stray dog. We see this when we go around Govardhan sometimes. The dog starts following us around. And, it's really interesting. You understand that there's some connection with Krishna consciousness. Of course, Vrindavan, every animal is connected with Krishna consciousness. So it's just a stray dog. So he fasts. For me, fasting is like the greatest austerity known to mankind. If someone were to say to you, Tilak didn't show up today, so you get his prasadam, so you have to fast until he shows up. You said, "What is this? This is crazy." Wouldn't you think, this is crazy. I have to fast because some stupid cat didn't show up for his halava this morning? And so Shivananda Sain was fast because that's how important compassion is for other living entities. And actually we were talking about this also last night, how compassion, it's very interesting that we should have compassion on all different levels. Like if we see someone, let's talk about a human being right now. If we see someone suffering because they don't have enough food, or they have some, let's say they have some loss in their lives, it's not that we just pull out, the highest spiritual truth and bat them over the head with it, which we sometimes do. Just like one of the devotees here, he lost his father yesterday, and not in the tent, devotee, not in the temple, one of the devotees in the community. Actually, it was Rishikesh. Oh, father-in-law, sorry. Oh, I thought it was father. Oh, Shamagori's father, okay. So Shamagori's father. So I expressed, I reflected, whoops. God bless you. So, I express compassion. It's not that you pull out the philosophy and you just say, what? They're not the body. You have no relationship with anybody in this world. It's just skinned as, you could say those things, which are philosophically correct, but absolutely impersonal, absolutely uncompassionate. So anyway, therefore, a devotee has to have compassion, doesn't have to, should have, sorry. You don't have to do anything, but should have compassion for people on all different levels. Like when you hear about the people in Ukraine or the people in Russia who are suffering in different ways, apart from devotees, we should feel compassion for them. And it's really important that people's lower needs are fulfilled so the higher need can be fulfilled. Anyway, getting back to the story. So compassion, even Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his compassion for Vasudeva, the leper, was like that, isn't it? It's not that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Vasudeva the leper, who was having all these sores in his body, and of course he was so compassionate that the worms would fall out. He would take the worms and put them back in the body. But it's not that he said to him, "You're not the body anyway, so don't worry about these things." He embraced him and cured the leprosy, isn't it? So you see that Lord Chaitanya's compassion was on every level. So, anyway, so getting back to the story. So Shivananda Sain fasted, and eventually he and his party reached Jagannath Puri. They saw Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They went into the temple, and then they came back to where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was staying. And what did they see when they saw Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu there in his room? They saw the dog was there, Moochie. Yeah, and the dog, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was saying to the dog, "Chant Krishna, Hari." I guess he didn't say chant Hare Krishna because the dog would have had a hard time doing that. So Krishna Hari is actually, I believe, what the Chaitanya Charitamrita says. And the dog was going, "Krishna, Krishna, Hare, Hare." Dog, I guess the dog could say Hare. He had to say Hari. So anyway, so the dog was chanting like that. And Lord Chaitanya was laughing and laughing and laughing. It's interesting, isn't it? It's a laugh of compassion, not a laugh of like making fun of the dog. Sometimes people misunderstand laughter to be making fun of someone, whereas you're just laughing to see Lord Chaitanya's compassion, isn't it? And actually, Prabhupada said at one point, when there was a kirtan going on, Prabhupada said that Narada Muni was there. And Prabhupada was asked by the devotees, what was Narada Muni doing? And Prabhupada said Narada Muni was laughing to see all the malechas and whatever else we were dancing and chanting. So laughter can be sometimes a manifestation of appreciation and compassion. So anyway, and then Lord Chaitanya was taking this green coconut pulp and throwing it to the dog. Might be the cookie throws we used to have. He'd throw it to the dog, and the dog was standing there, and the dog was getting like that. And then eventually, of course, there's a happy ending. Dog goes back to Godhead. He takes a spiritual body. I don't know what that spiritual body was. I'm not going to guess at it. So I just thought I would start this morning's class talking about Lord Chaitanya's compassion and the compassion of his followers. Now, where does that compassion come from? As a question. And let's read about where that compassion comes from. It comes actually, before I start reading, it comes from the internal reasons for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's advent. Now we understand the external reason, the apparent reason for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's advent is to teach the Yuga Dharma. Kali Kalera Dharma Krishna Dhamma Sankirtan. Krishna Varna Tvisha Krishna Sango Panga Shraparshanam Yagyai Sankirtana Prayar Yajantihi Sumedasa. In this day and age, Krishna appears, not blackish, but also chanting his holy names, and he conducts this Krishna Nam Sankirtan, which is the Yuga Dharma. That is true. Krishna does come down to conduct the Yuga Dharma, just like in previous ages, Krishna does come to do Paricranaya Sadhanam, Vinashaya Chadushkritam, right? To annihilate the miscreants, establish religious principles, protect the devotees, etc., like that. That's not wrong, but that's not the actual internal reason that Krishna comes down. Because as Prabhupada comments elsewhere, Krishna can accomplish those purposes by empowering his devotees or having his energies do those things. I mean, I think Durga is completely capable of Vinashaya Chadushkritam. I don't think we need to question her abilities. But, so Krishna's not required for that, and Krishna's devotees, like his Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, can teach Krishna Nam Sankirtan. But Krishna comes down for his internal reasons, his personal reasons, and we're going to hear a little bit about that today. And basically there's three of these reasons. Let's read a little bit from the confidential reasons for the Lord's appearance, chapter 4 of the Adi Leela. Let's start with verse 129. And I'm not going to read the Bengali, and I'm not going to read the purports. I'm going to read the verses right now, just to keep it short. There's nothing, so he's referring, Lord Chaitanya was referring, Krishna was referring, and Krishna's Kaviraj. There's nothing greater than her love. That's Radharani, of course. But her love is devoid of pride. That is the sign of its greatness. Nothing is purer than her love, but its behavior is always perverse and crooked. You know, you have this like stereotypical understanding of what love is, isn't it? Where it's just like someone's smiling all the time, like some mindless idiot, and just serving, you know, doing this, doing that. I mean, even the relationship that the disciple has with the spiritual master, like Prabhupada said, blind following and absurd inquiries are condemned. So it's not that someone should become so obsequious. Of course, we should become like a dog of Krishna, the dog of the spiritual master. Prabhupada described the neck beads are actually like dog collar. So we should be led around, but not blindly. I mean, that metaphor falls apart at a certain point. It's not that we should follow all the different, let's say, connections with the metaphor. So, anyway, continue. So it describes its behavior is always perverse and crooked, and that's why Krishna wanted to understand Radharani's love, because Radharani's love is not always straight. It's all twists and turns, and he wanted to understand her love. All glories to Radha's love for Krishna, the enemy of the demon Mura. Although it is all-pervading, it tends to increase at every moment. Although it is important, it is devoid of pride. And although it is pure, it is always beset with duplicity. Now that's really interesting, isn't it? Like if you think, you know, pure love or someone who is pure, how can they be duplicitous, right? You know, if you call someone duplicitous, it's an insult. Like Advaitacharya was called Dvaita by Mother Sachi. Remember that story? Because she had accused Advaitacharya of causing Visvarup, or encouraging Visvarup to take sannyas. Visvarup was Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's brother. So he's two-faced, he's duplicitous. At one point, he gives me respect. At another point, behind my back, he's doing something different. So it's, you know, very unusual to have pure love or love that's duplicitous. Because, obviously you have Radharani's man and anger towards Krishna, and sometimes she doesn't want to see Krishna. So on. And her acting, it's interesting, her acting not wanting to see Krishna is actually to give Krishna pleasure. You understand? If she says, I don't want to see Krishna, or even Lalita Devi, who was just really angry, reflecting Radharani's mood, they're also thinking of giving pleasure to Krishna by this exchange, by this dramatic exchange. So, of course, this is a verse. Actually, I'm not going to read the commentary. Shri Radhika is the highest abode of that love, and I am its only object. I taste the bliss to which the object of love is entitled, but the pleasure of Radha, the abode of that love, is 10 million times greater. My mind races to taste the pleasure experienced by the abode, but I cannot taste it even by my best efforts. How may I taste it? It's interesting that Krishna here is thinking, even, he's God, he's aptakama. That means he gets whatever he wants just because he wants it. Just by wanting it, that's aptakama. And he's swarat, he's independent. This is Bhagavatam teaches us this. But even with my best efforts, I cannot taste that nectar, that pleasure. If sometimes I can be the abode of that love, only then may I taste its joy. Yes, Ashraya is there. Vishaya to the Ashraya. So, of course, Vishaya is Krishna's normal position. Ashraya is the abode. Yeah. The word Vishaya is not mentioned here anyway. Thinking in this way, Lord Krishna was curious to taste that love. His eager desire for that love increasingly blazed in his heart. Think about that poetic expression. It's not just, well, I'd like to have that love. But it's blazing. You understand what blazing? It's like a fire. Like, of course, in this material world, we have this samsara fire. It's blazing in our heart, and just like torturing us, and we want to focus on some sense objects, and just jayato vishakput sangos teshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kama kama kroda vijayate. That's the blazing in our heart. And so Krishna has this desire. He's contemplating this. It's actually like a reflection on that verse in the Bhagavad Gita, isn't it, that I just quoted? He contemplates it, becomes attached with, right? Becomes lusty after it. It's extreme enthusiasm. And, of course, he doesn't become angry. But bewildered, yeah. Bewildered. He does become bewildered, doesn't become angry. So it's almost like a reflection, or the material world is a reflection of what Krishna is experiencing. So it's pretty much the same thing in the spiritual realm, in relationship to Krishna. So Krishna was curious to taste love. His eager desire for that love increasingly blazed in his heart. It's just, I got to do it, like lolium, intense hankering. This is one desire. Now please hear of another. Seeing his own beauty, Krishna began to consider, my sweetness is wonderful, just like we chanted that nice song the other day. Madhura, Krishna is the emperor's sweetness. My sweetness is wonderful, infinite and full. No one in the three worlds can find its limit. Only Radhika, by the strength of her love, tastes all the nectar of my sweetness. Although Radha's love is pure like a mirror, its purity increases at every moment. My sweetness also has no room for expansion. That's his humility. Yet it shines before that mirror in newer and newer beauty. There's constant competition between my sweetness and the mirror of Radha's love. They both go on increasing, but neither knows defeat. My sweetness is always newer and newer. Devotees taste it according to their own respective love. If I see my sweetness in a mirror, I am tempted to taste it, but nevertheless I cannot. I mean, there is that story when Krishna saw his reflection in a body of water, and he said, "Who is that attractive person?" If I deliberate on a way to taste it, I find that I hanker for the position of Radharani, or Radhika, who manifests an abundance of sweetness greater than mine, which has never been experienced before, and which causes wonder to all. Alas, I myself, my mind bewildered upon seeing this beauty, impetuously desire to enjoy it like Srimati Radharani. The beauty of Krishna has one natural strength that thrills the hearts of all men and women, beginning with Lord Krishna himself. All minds are attracted by hearing his sweet voice and flute, or by seeing his beauty. Even Lord Krishna himself makes efforts to taste that sweetness. The thirst of one who always drinks the nectar of that sweetness is never satisfied. Rather, that thirst increases constantly. Such a person, being unsatisfied, begins to blaspheme Lord Brahma, saying that he does not know the art of creating well and is simply inexperienced. And like the gopis, they got upset. Oh, here's this statement. He has not given millions of eyes to see the beauty of Krishna. He has given only 2 eyes, and even those eyes blink. How shall I see that lovely face of Krishna? The gopis said, "O Krishna, when you go to the forest during the day, and we do not see your sweet face, which is surrounded by beautiful curling hair, half a second becomes as long as an entire age for us." Of course, that's Yugayatam Nimishena Chakshashapravishaitam. And we consider the Creator, who has put eyelids on the eyes we use for seeing you, to be simply a fool. That's from the Bhagavatam. The gopis saw their beloved Krishna at Kurukshetra after a long separation. They secured and embraced him in their hearts through their eyes, and they attained a joy so intense that not even perfect yogis can attain it. The gopis cursed the Creator for creating eyelids that interfered with their vision. And I'm going to skip a little here. So this is the description. This is a description of the second desire, and then we're going to go to the third desire. So I'm going to text 159. This is a description of his second desire, which I just went over. Krishna wanted to see himself from Radharani's perspective. Remember, the first desire was to enjoy happiness more than he normally enjoys. The second desire was to see himself from the perspective of his beloved. Now, please listen as I describe the third. This conclusion of Rasa is extremely deep. Only Swarup Damodar knows much about it. Anyone who claims to know it must have heard it from him, for he was the most intimate companion of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The love of the gopis is called Hruda Bhava. It is pure and spotless. It is not at any time lust. Let me just explain this time I'm going to read Prabhupada's purport. As already explained, the position of the gopis in their loving dealings with Krishna is transcendental. This emotion is called Rudha Bhava. Although it is apparently like mundane sex, one should not confuse it with mundane sexual love, for it is pure and unadulterated love of Godhead. The pure love of the gopis has become celebrated by the name lust. The dear devotees of the Lord, headed by Sri Uddhava, desired to taste that love. Lust and love have different characteristics, just as iron and gold have different natures. The desire to gratify one's own senses is kama, lust. but the desire to please the senses of Lord Krishna is prema, or love. The object of lust is the only enjoyment of one's own senses, but love caters to the enjoyment of Lord Krishna, and thus it is very powerful. Social customs, scriptural injunctions, bodily demands, fruit of action, shyness, patience, bodily pleasures, self-gratification in the path of varnashram dharma, which is difficult to give up. The gopis have forsaken all these. See, varnashram dharma. As well as their own relatives and their punishment and scolding. For the sake of serving Lord Krishna, they render loving service to him for the sake of his enjoyment. So that's the point. In other words, let's talk about a little bit about varnashram dharma, since that's one of our subject matters. We accept everything favorable and reject everything unfavorable for pleasing Krishna, or bringing people to Krishna consciousness. So whether it's called, details of varnashram dharma, or whether it's called details of social etiquette, or whether it's bodily pleasures, or whether it's bodily demands, then whatever pleases Krishna. Of course, we don't torture the body because it doesn't please Krishna to torture the body. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says, if you do torture the body, you're to be known as a what? Nobody knows the Bhagavad Gita? Demon, as Prabhupada said. So obviously, we have to apply these things with reason. But the point is, accepting everything favorable, rejecting everything unfavorable, that's love. That's actually the gopis' love. If something was favorable, if their scriptural injunction was favorable, for example, they worship Durga, right? Caitanyas, to get Krishna as their husband. Didn't they? So that's a scriptural injunction. So it's not that it states here that you give up social customs and scriptural injunctions, but you accept social customs, scriptural injunctions, aspects of varnashram dharma that are favorable. Otherwise, let's say with varnashram dharma, let's go back to that subject matter, it becomes niyam agraha. Varnashram dharma becomes niyam agraha. Interesting enough, devotees always quote this thing. This has nothing to do with today's class, but it comes to mind. Always quote, they say that Prabhupada said 50% of my mission has not been accomplished because I have not instituted varnashram dharma. Interestingly enough, when Prabhupada was asked, did you say that? He said no. Isn't it? That's really interesting. And when Prabhupada said no, that was recorded. And when people think that Prabhupada said 50%, etc., that wasn't recorded. So if something's recorded, that is primary evidence. Anyway, let's continue with Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. That is called firm attachment to Lord Krishna is spotlessly pure, like a clean cloth that has no stains. Therefore, lust and love are quite different. Lust is like dense darkness, but love is like the bright sun. There is not the slightest taint of lust in the gopis' love. Their relationship with Krishna is only for the sake of his enjoyment. So anyway, the final thing, I'm going to skip a little bit. This is because Krishna wants to understand that love that Radharani has and the gopis have for him. Okay, so those are the three. I want to take time to read some of the quotes that I put together. These are the three reasons for esoteric reasons, actual reasons, important reasons for Lord Chaitanya's, primary reasons for Lord Chaitanya's advent. So let's read some of these quotes because to reinforce our faith in Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it's very important to hear the Shastric evidence for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's position. So these are certain quotes. We got 15 more minutes. In the Atharva Veda, it is said, and I'm just going to read the English here. In the seventh Manvantara, the Supreme Lord will, accompanied by his own associates, descend in a golden form. He will teach the chanting of his own holy names. That's part of the Atharva Veda. It's pretty interesting. It's the part called the Purusha Bodhini Upanishad. And also in the Tarva Veda it is stated, the Supreme Lord himself says, when between 4,000 and 5,000 years of Kali Yuga have passed, I will descend to the earth in a place by the Ganges shore. I will be a tall, saintly Brahmin devotee of the Lord and have a golden complexion. I will be renounced and free from all desire. I will accept the order of renunciation, sannyas. I will be a devotee advanced in bhakti yoga. I will chant the holy names of the Lord. I will taste the sweet mellows of my own devotional service. Only the great devotees will understand me. That's pretty interesting, isn't it? These quotes. See, actually, it was Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur who put together all these quotes. In the Samaveda, here's a quote from the Samaveda. Interesting. To deliver the people devoured by the sins of Kali, I will, accompanied by my associates, descend to the earth in a place by the Ganges shore. I will be a Brahmin of Aduta sannyasi. Again and again, I will chant the holy names of the Lord. To deliver the people devoured by the sins of Kali Yuga, I will, accompanied by my associates, descend to the earth in a place by the Ganges shores. Another quote. I will be a Brahmin of Aduta sannyasi. Again and again, I will chant the holy names of the Lord. In the Krishna Upanishad, wow, it's a Krishna Upanishad. In the Kali Yuga, Lord Krishna will appear in a Brahmin's family. He will teach the message of the Upanishads and the Dharma Shastras. He will defeat the atheists and offenders. He will establish the truth of Vaishnava Dharma. And then, of course, we also have the famous quote in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which I actually cited before, the following verse. Krishna Varnam Dusha Krishnam Sangopangashta Parshanam Yagai Sankirtana Prayad Yajantihi Sumedasa. In the age of Kali, intelligent persons perform congregational chanting to worship the incarnation of Godhead, who constantly sings the name of Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associates, servants, weapons, and confidential companions. And of course, the Srimad Bhagavatam is the quintessential, the topmost evidence that we have. It's interesting, I was listening to a class on the concerning the Sanskrit of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and let's actually read that. Nanda Maharaj was speaking that he said you can see the Srimad Bhagavatam is the product of one author by just analyzing the Sanskrit usage in the other Puranas he was talking about. You can see there compilation of different people adding things at different time, places, and circumstances because of the types of Sanskrit that are in them. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is our ultimate proof, our ultimate epistemology, way of knowing what we know. And of course, Srila Jiva Goswami points this out in the Tattva Sandarbha too. So, this is the highest evidence. In the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there's the following verse describing the Lord's incarnations. Chanakalo yad abhava triyugo ta satvam. Because in Kali Yuga, you appear in a covered incarnation, you are therefore known as Triyuga. One who appears only in 3 yugas. So there's the following verse in the Adi Purana and the Narada Purana. My true identity always concealed, I will assume the form of a Brahmin devotee in the world, of the Lord, sorry. In this form I will deliver the worlds. And in the Kurma Purana, the following statement is made. To deliver the conditioned souls burning in the troubles of Kali Yuga, in the first sanja of that age, that means first portion of the age, the Lord will take birth in a Brahmin's home. And there's a quote from the Garuda Purana. To deliver the conditioned souls burning in the troubles of Kali Yuga in the first sanja of that age, I will take birth among the Brahmanas. Another quote from the Puranas. In my original spiritual form, perfect and complete, I will become the son of Sachi Devi in Navadvip, Mayapur, at the beginning of Kali Yuga. Elsewhere in the Guru, this is from the Garuda Purana, really interesting. In the first Sanja of Kali Yuga, the Lord will assume a golden form. First he will be the husband of Lakshmi, and then he will be a sannyasi who stays near the Lord at Jagannath Puri. Wow. After taking some description. And also in the Garuda Purana, there's the statement, the Supreme Lord who enjoyed pastimes with the gopis, who day and night filled the people of Vrindavan with happiness, who killed Kamsa, who in the war between the Kauravas made friendship with the Pandavas, will come again to the earth. Of this there is no doubt. His arm will be decorated with a bamboo danda stick. He will be a sannyasi and his name will be Caitanya. And that's pretty explicit, isn't it? I don't think you get more explicit than that. You know, his name is not Satya Sai Baba. So that's the Garuda Purana. It was actually Bhaktivinoda Thakur put together a lot of different quotes. He even has a quote from what's called the Chaitanya Upanishad. There's some controversy whether that is actually something that's very old. In even the Devi Purana, and that's one of the Tamasic Puranas, it says the Lord will again appear in this world. His name will be Sri Krishna Chaitanya, and he will spread the chanting of the Lord's holy names. Very explicit. In the Shringa Purana, the Supreme Lord, who in the Satya Yuga appeared as a half in the Shringa Purana, imagine that, who in the Satya Yuga appeared as a half man, half lion to cure a terrible disease that had ravaged the Daityas, and who in Treta Yuga appeared as Ram, a person who defeated the 10-headed Ravana, and who in Dwapara Yuga removed the earth's burden and protected the Gopa people of Brajapura, will appear again in the Kali Yuga. His form will be golden. He will delight in chanting the Lord's holy names, and his name will be Chaitanya. That's in the Shringa Purana. Wow. And the Padma Purana. In the first Sanja of Kali Yuga, I will appear on the earth in a beautiful place by the Ganges shore. I will be the son of Sachi Devi, and my complexion will be golden. And then you have the Narada Purana. O Brahmana, in the age of Kali, I will appear disguised as a devotee of the Lord, and I will deliver all the worlds. And also in the Narada Purana. O demigods in the Kali Yuga, take birth as devotees of the earth. I will appear as the son of Sachi in Kali Yuga to start the Sankirtan movement. And, of course, there's a quote from the Bhavishya Purana. Now, there's some controversy about the Bhavishya Purana, but we're not going to talk about that. O Govinda, feeling your separation. What is this? We find. This is not the same book. There's a quote, and then there's not the translation. Ananda Shru Kala Roma. Yeah, that's pretty similar. Harsha Purnam Tapodana Sarve Mam Eva Drakshanti Kalo Sanyas Sarupinam. So, of course, it's describing the symptoms of ecstasy. Harsha Purnam, complete. I guess lamentation, Tabo executing austerities. And in Kali Yuga, I will appear in the form of a sannyasi, Rupinam, Kalo Sannyasa Rupinam. Here it is. Here's the translation, sorry. O sage whose wealth is austerity, in the Kali Yuga, everyone will see my form as a sannyasi, a form filled with tears of bliss and bodily hairs standing erect in ecstasy. Wow. So there's a quote. Let's see. The Vayu Purana. O Narada, taking birth in Sachi Devi's womb, I will deliver the sinful people from the terrible darkness up to Kali Yuga. Another quote from the Vayu Purana. In the month of Falguna, when the star Falguni is conjoined with the full moon, I will appear in a golden form, begotten by Purandara in Sachi Devi's womb. So, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's father was sometimes known as Purandara Mishra and also Jagannath Mishra. So, another quote. I will take birth in a Brahmin family in the city of Navadvip by the Ganges shore. One or two more quotes in that one. And another quote, in order to show mercy to the people, engage them in devotional service, I will accept sannyas. Then my name will be Sri Krishna Caitanya. In the Ananta Samhita, it is said, to show mercy to the people and give them devotional service, the Supreme Personality of Godhead will appear in a Brahmin's home in Navadvip by the Ganges shore. Another quote, in Kali Yuga I will descend to the earth with my associates in Navadvip, which is surrounded by the Ganges. I will take birth in Sachi Devi's womb. Anyway, there's a lot of quotes here. Oh, here's another one from the Ananta Samhita. This one is very nice. The golden goddess Radha is known by the name Gauri, and the dark Lord Krishna is known by the name Hari. Aware that both of them have combined, the wise call him as Gora Hari. That's from the Ananta Samhita. Another quote is, the golden goddess Radha is known by, that is the same quote, actually. So, anyway, we'll end here because we have about 2.5 minutes. Any questions about any of these points? So I wanted to read all these different quotes just to reinforce our faith that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead predicted in the Vedic literatures. Yes? Yes. Uh-oh. That's not good. That's very bad. That's very bad. Yeah, so if someone's going to feed any animal with a plate, and of course if you give the animal spoons and knives to eat with too, you got to be responsible for throwing it away. That's actually really important. Because if you leave garbage around, it's actually very, you are absolutely correct. Thank you. So who has a question about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Or anything we mentioned in class? Questions, comments? Yes. Good question. No, it's a reciprocal. Because if it's just one-sided, then it's not love. Then it's exploitation. In any relationship like that. That Krishna loves Radharani, he's trying to please. Like, let's just talk about not only Radharani, but actually Radharani's devotees. Krishna's always planning how to please Radharani's devotees, too. Like there's that story that Rupa Goswami wanted to prepare something. Well, actually it was Radharani who brought the ingredients. Or Raghunath Das Goswami, he was meditating and chanting, and there were tigers coming out, and so Krishna came and was holding a stick to keep the tigers away.